I want to talk to you today about 10 Forward's favorite bartender, Guinan. Now, to be clear, I am not calling Guinan a villain by no stretch of the imagination. She is definitely a good person. She has helped out the crew on many occasions, and she's been a very deep, close personal friend of Picard's. But there are a couple of questions that I have about her and about events that she's been involved with that has caused, in my opinion, damage to the Federation. She has been responsible, if not responsible, partially responsible for events and wars that the Next Generation crew has been involved with. The first question I have involves her interactions with Q. When we first meet up with her in Season 2, she's just this mysterious bartender. But as Q Who, in that episode, Q appears and they have a little back and forth, the two of them.
This creature is not what she appears to be. She's an imp, and where she goes, trouble always follows.
Q refers to her as an imp, and where she goes, trouble always follows. Now, in doing some research on this, a lot of people are speculating that when he says that she's an imp, she's just a nuisance, a small problem. But is it possible that she is some creature called an imp? Now, the dictionary says that an imp is a small, mischievous devil that causes problems. And is that what Q is trying to warn Picard about, that she is dangerous? The real question I have for you today is Guinan responsible, if not responsible, partially responsible for events, violent events that have taken place throughout the history of the TNG universe, Star Trek universe? In the episode Yesterday's Enterprise, the Enterprise C is thrown forward in time, changing the events of the Enterprise D crew's present history, altering it.
Ensign Thomas, please report to Combat Information Center. Ensign Thomas to CIC.
This isn't right. It's changed.
Guinan almost instantly realizes there is something seriously wrong with the timeline. This is not a military ship. The Federation should not be at war. Something is wrong with this timeline, and it needs to be fixed. So she takes her concerns to Picard, pretty much telling him that the timeline is wrong. There are billions of people dying in a Klingon war with the Federation, a war that should never have taken place, and the ship from the past needs to go back.
Guinan, they will die moments after they return. How can I ask them to sacrifice themselves based solely on your intuition? Who is to say that this history is any less proper than the other?
I suppose I am.
Not good enough, damn it! Not good enough!
So Picard decides to send the Enterprise C back through the rift. And up till now, everything seems to be going fine. But here's where the problem begins for me and for the history of the Federation, or the future of the Federation, excuse me. Guinan is usually calm, cool, and pretty good about handling a situation. But in this particular case, in front of Tasha, and every moment she has seen Tasha since the timeline altered, she's had this weird look toward her. And yes, Guinan knows Tasha died in the other timeline, but the way she's handling the situation, the way she deals with Tasha throughout this episode, sets things up in a very bad way.
If she's right, we may not even be in an alternate timeline.
Who knows if we're even dead or alive?
When Tasha goes to Guinan to confront her as to why she's being treated the way she is, Guinan just explodes at her.
We've known each other too long.
We weren't meant to know each other at all. At least that's what I sense when I look at you.
The way Guinan handled this situation was wrong. She exploded at Tasha and then tells her that she died a pointless death in the other timeline. Remember, Armus killed her. And it just, the way she handled this set up a chain of events that caused more people to die in the normal timeline. I'm sorry, this is the way I feel. She caused problems in the future. So Tasha goes to Picard and requests a transfer to the Enterprise C because she learned that her alternate timeline future is she's dead in that timeline, and it was a pointless death, and she wants to go out with some dignity and honor. A few moments of back and forth, and Picard agrees to let her go. The Enterprise C goes back through the rift right to the Battle of Narendra 3, where 4 Romulan birds basically destroy the ship. And in Season 5, the Enterprise would run up against Commander Celia, a Romulan who looks exactly like the Tasha Yar, because it is her daughter. When the Enterprise C went back in time, the Romulans attacked the vessel and took survivors back to Romulus, and Tasha was among them. A deal was struck by one of the Romulan commanders who, like Tasha, to spare the lives of the remaining crew if Tasha would marry the commander. A year later, Celia was born, and 3 years later, Celia would scream out for help because Tasha was trying to escape with her, putting Tasha to death. Now again, all this happens because Guinan, the way she handled the situation in the alternate timeline, it sent Tasha back in time to try and prove that she could die an honorable death, which wound up causing her to get captured by the Romulans and then having a child with a Romulan. And as we all know, Celia was the commander in charge of the Romulan plot to overthrow the government of the Klingon Empire, starting a civil war and backing the Duras family. Sometime later, the Romulans, with Celia in command of the operation, would use Spock in an attempt to invade Vulcan through the premise of reunification. And again, I say all this because of the way she handled the situation with Tasha in the alternate timeline. But there is a problem that I do have with her.
Tuition.
You can't just dismiss this. If I'm right, then you are responsible for this whole situation.
I think it's time that I met Commander Sela.
My problem is this. She went to him, told him that the Enterprise C did survive, and that Tasha was aboard the ship. And then she goes off and says that his fault all this is happening. All of this is happening because he ordered Tasha onto the Enterprise C. He did not. He reluctantly approved her transfer request. Guinan is the one who set all of this in motion. And for her to try and pull a guilt trip on Picard is the thing that really bothers me in all this. That is my real big issue with Guinan in this whole thing. Everything else I can accept as she just didn't handle the situation well. But in this particular case, she's dumping it all on Picard, and it wasn't his fault, it's hers. This is just something that I wanted to get off my chest. I kind of thought this was something that really bothered me about Guinan and how she's just dumping this all on Picard, and it wasn't his fault, it was all hers. Tell me what you think. Let me know. Drop your comments below and let me know. And until the next time, my friends, God bless.